The last bite. It was a cold Tuesday afternoon when the door of the tiny diner creaked open. A soft chime rang out as the wind rushed in, carrying with it a chill that made the waitress at the counter shiver. The place was nearly empty. Most of the lunch crowd had already left. The few who remained sat quietly, scrolling through their phones or sipping the last of their coffee. A girl walked in. She looked about 10 years old. Her jeans were torn at the knees and the sleeves of her oversized hoodie dangled past her hands. Her cheeks were flushed from the wind and her eyes, wide, unsure and searching, scanned the room. Her thin frame moved with quiet steps, almost as if she didn't want to be seen. She clutched something in her hand, a small pouch, faded and frayed. The waitress, Mandy, raised an eyebrow. She'd seen kids wander in before, mostly looking for their parents. But this one was different. This girl looked hungry. The girl walked up to the counter. Her voice trembled when she spoke. "Can I get something to eat? I don't have enough money right now, but I can pay later, please." Mandy frowned. "Sweetheart, this isn't a charity. You either pay or you leave. It's policy." Couple nearby glanced up at the sound, then went back to their coffee. The girl lowered her eyes, her little hands gripping the pouch tighter. She turned to leave, her shoulders hunched, when a voice from the far booth spoke. "I'll cover her." Heads turned. In the far corner, a man had been sitting quietly, wearing a simple black jacket and jeans. He had long, dark hair tied back, loosely in a calm face that looked tired but kind. It was Keanu Reeves. Mandy blinked. She hadn't even noticed him come in. "Are you sure?" she asked, a little stunned. Keanu nodded. "Bring her whatever she wants, and get her something. Warm to drink, too." The girl turned, confused. Her eyes met his. She didn't know who he was. She just saw a stranger offering kindness. Mandy hesitated, then handed the girl a menu. She returned to the kitchen with the order, still shaking her head in disbelief. Keanu waved the girl over. "You can sit with me if you want." She nodded, slowly, and walked over. Her name was Lily. As they waited for the food, Keanu asked gentle questions. Where was she from? Was she okay? Did she need help? Lily gave short answers at first, guarded. But slowly her story came out in bits and pieces. Her mom had passed away last winter. Her dad had disappeared a few months after that. She had been living with her aunt, but things turned bad. She'd run away the night before. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. The food came: pancakes, eggs, and a hot chocolate with whipped cream. Lily stared at it like it was a dream. She whispered thank you and began eating slowly, savoring every bite. Keanu watched her, quiet. Something in his eyes shifted. He saw something familiar in her. The pain of loss, the loneliness, the hunger, not just for food but for warmth, for safety. When she was halfway through, Mandy walked over again. She had her phone in hand. "Hey," she said to Keanu. "I just realized who you are. Are you really Keanu Reeves?" He gave a small smile. "Depends. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" Mandy laughed awkwardly. No, it's just, wow, sorry about before, I didn't recognize you." "You don't have to be sorry to me," he said, but maybe to her. Mandy looked at Lily, who was still quietly chewing. "Yeah," she said, lowering her voice. "I get it." After they finished eating, Keanu stood and gently asked Lily if she had anywhere safe to go. She hesitated, then shook her head. He knelt, beside her. "You don't have to be alone anymore, okay? Let me help." Outside, the sky had turned gray. The wind picked up again. But inside that small diner, something warm had begun to grow. Something stronger than hunger. Something that would change both of their lives forever. The silent ride, the wind outside was biting as they stepped out of the diner. Keanu took off his coat and gently wrapped it around Lily's shoulders without saying a word. She flinched at first, not used to people being gentle with her, but then slowly relaxed under the warmth. Her fingers clutched the fabric like it was the only thing holding her together. He opened the door to a black SUV parked right by the curb. It was clean, but not flashy. Lily paused, unsure. For a moment, Fear flickered in her eyes. She had learned not to trust easily. The streets had taught her that. You don't have to come if you don't want to, Keanu said softly, but I promise you're safe with me. You're not just another face to ignore, Lily. I want to help you. No cameras, no reporters, just a ride and a warm place to stay tonight. She looked at him, and for the first time her eyes softened. She nodded once and climbed into the passenger seat. The ride was quiet. She stared out the window, watching buildings blur into trees, then into hills. The city lights slowly faded behind them as they headed toward a quiet neighborhood just outside of town. Keanu didn't push her to talk. He just turned on the heater and let the silence sit between them like a fragile thread neither wanted to break. After a while, he asked gently, "Do you like dogs?" Her lips twitched slightly, like they were trying to remember how to smile. "I think so," she whispered. "Good," he said, "because mine is kind of dramatic. I think he thinks he's a movie star." She let out the tiniest laugh. When they pulled into the driveway, the porch light flicked on. The house was modest, not the kind of place people imagined a Hollywood star would live in. It had a quiet charm, like it was filled with stories and peace. As they stepped out, the sound of paws scratching against the front door echoed from inside. Then came a bark. "Told you," Keanu said. He opened the door, and a large black dog bounded out, tail wagging furiously. It froze when it saw Lily, then walked over slowly and sniffed her hand. She reached out a little unsure, but the dog licked her fingers gently. "This is Archie," Keanu said. "He approves of you." Inside, the house smelled like coffee and cedarwood. Books were stacked on the shelves and a guitar leaned against the wall near a fireplace. Lily stood there, still wrapped in the jacket, unsure if she was dreaming. "You can sit anywhere you like," he said. "There's soup on the stove if you're still hungry." She nodded and sat on the couch, barely sinking into the cushions, as if afraid to get too comfortable. Keanu returned with a blanket and draped it over her. Then he sat across from her, his hands wrapped around a mug of tea. Archie rested his head on Lily's knee. After a long pause, she asked, "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her for a moment, then said, "Because someone once did the same for me." Her eyebrows furrowed. "I lost my parents when I was young," he said quietly. "I bounced from place to place. People treated me like I didn't matter, but then one night someone offered me kindness, just one small act. It saved me. And ever since, I promised myself I'd return that kindness whenever I could." Lily stared at him. "But you're famous." He smiled gently. "Fame doesn't mean anything when you see someone hurting and do nothing. It's not about who I am. It's about who you are. You matter, Lily. You've been through things no child should ever go through, and you're still standing. That's brave." Her eyes welled up. She turned away quickly and wiped her face with her sleeve. Keanu didn't say anything. He just let her be. Later, he showed her the guest room. It had a soft bed, a small lamp, and a view of the stars. She stepped in slowly, almost like she was afraid it might vanish. He placed a nightlight near her pillow. "Just in case," he said. "You don't have to be afraid here." She nodded but didn't speak. As he walked out, she whispered, "Thank you." He paused at the door. "Anytime." She crawled into bed holding the blanket tight. For the first time in months, maybe years, she didn't cry herself to sleep. She just closed her eyes and listened to the quiet, the safe kind of quiet. Downstairs, Keanu sat by the fireplace staring into the flames. He felt something shift in his chest, like fate had brought that little girl into the diner for a reason, and he had no idea just how much she would change his life. The morning sun poured through the soft cream curtains of the guest room. Golden light danced on the floorboards, gentle and warm, as if the world itself had paused to let peace settle in. Lily stirred under the thick quilt. For a moment, she forgot where she was. There were no angry voices, no cold floor, no hunger gnawing at her stomach, just quiet, safe. She blinked and sat up slowly. A soft yawn escaped her lips. Her small hands rubbed her eyes and she looked around the room, remembering the night before. The jacket he gave her was folded neatly on a chair. There was even a tiny note next to it. Written in calm handwriting were the words, "You are welcome here." She read it again, and again. Her chest felt tight, but not in the bad way. She pressed the note to her chest, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Thank you." Downstairs, the smell of pancakes filled the air. Keanu was already in the kitchen, humming softly as he flipped a pancake on the stove. Archie lay near his feet, watching his every move. When he heard the creak of the wooden steps, he looked up and smiled. "Morning, sleepyhead," he said gently. Lily stood at the foot of the stairs, unsure. She was used to waking up and being told to clean, to hurry, to get out of the way. But here it was different. "Did you sleep okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Better than ever." Keanu smiled and gestured to the table. "Then you deserve breakfast, like a queen." He placed a plate full of pancakes, strawberries, and a swirl of whipped cream in front of her. There was even a glass of warm milk. Lily stared at it, blinking fast. She didn't know how to say what she felt. "Words weren't enough. You don't have to say anything," Keanu said, sitting across from her. "Just eat. We've got time." As she ate, he asked her gentle questions again. What she liked, what she didn't, what she wanted to be when she grew up. "I used to want to be a vet," she said softly. "But then, everything changed." "Dreams don't die," he replied. "Sometimes they just wait for the right moment to come back." After breakfast, he gave her a tour of the house. There was a library filled with old books, a garage with motorbikes he had fixed himself, and even a tiny recording room where he kept guitars and music gear. "You play?" she asked, touching a guitar string carefully. "A little," he said. "Want to try?" She shook her head shyly. "I've never even touched one before." "Then today's a good day to start." He showed her a simple chord. Her fingers fumbled, but he was patient. The sound wasn't perfect, but it was hers. And for the first time in a long time, Lily laughed. A real, soft laugh. Later that afternoon, Keanu had to step out for a bit to pick up supplies. He asked Lily if she was okay staying at the house with Archie. She nodded. She trusted him now, but what happened while he was gone would be something he never expected. Lily explored the house more. She walked into the living room and noticed something strange. A box of old letters sat tucked behind a cabinet. Curious, she opened one, then another. They were letters Keanu had written to someone he had lost. Most were never sent. They spoke of pain, of loneliness, of wondering what life meant when everything hurt. But they also spoke of hope, of choosing kindness, of rising again. Her heart ached as she read. Then she did something unexpected. She took out a piece of paper from a drawer and wrote a letter of her own. It was addressed to him. "Dear Keanu, thank you for not walking away. Thank you for seeing me. No one else did. I'm not just a lost girl. I'm a person. And maybe I can still be something. Because of you. Love, Lily." She placed it on his pillow. When Keanu returned an hour later, he saw it the moment he stepped into his room. He sat on the edge of the bed and read it in silence. Then he held it to his chest and closed his eyes. His throat tightened, and for a long moment he just sat there, letting the silence say what words couldn't. He wasn't the one saving her. She was saving him too. That night, they sat by the fire again, this time with 2 mugs of cocoa and Archie curled between them. They didn't talk much. They didn't have to. Lily leaned against him, and for the first time in years, Keanu felt something he hadn't known he was missing. Family. When the past came knocking, it was a quiet Saturday morning. The kind where birds chirped lazily and the smell of coffee drifted softly through the house. Sunlight poured through the windows like gold, lighting up the floor where Archie lay, stretched out, snoring. Keanu was in the kitchen making toast. Lily sat at the table with a sketch pad he had given her. Her small hands moved the pencil carefully. She was drawing the dog, but her version had a superhero cape. She glanced up at him. "Do you think dogs ever dream of flying?" Keanu smiled. "I think they dream of whatever makes them feel free." She looked back at her drawing and whispered, "Me too." Then came the sound. Ding-dong, the doorbell. Archie's ears perked up. Keanu wiped his hands, walked to the front door and opened it. A woman stood there. She wore a cheap brown coat, had tired eyes, and held a photo in her hand. Beside her stood a man with a heavy jaw and crossed arms. His stare was hard. Too hard. "You, Keanu Reeves?" the woman asked. "I am. We're looking for this girl. Her name's Lily." Keanu looked down at the photo. It was an old picture. Lily's smile was faint in it, and behind her stood the same woman now at his doorstep. He didn't say anything right away. His body tensed, but his voice remained calm. "Who are you?" "I'm her aunt. She ran away months ago. We've been looking ever since." Keanu stepped outside, closing the door gently behind him. "She told me some things about the way she was treated." The man beside her grunted. "Kids lie, especially that one." Keanu's jaw tightened. "That's a dangerous thing to assume about a child." "Look, we just want to take her home," the woman said. "She's our family." "Is that what you told her? When you yelled at her every night? When she slept on the kitchen floor?" The woman flinched. The man's face darkened. "You don't know what you're talking about." Keanu took a breath. "I know she was hungry, alone, afraid, and she didn't ask for money or pity. She asked to pay later. That tells me everything I need to know about her character. What does it say about yours?" Before they could answer, a voice called from behind the door. "Keanu?" He turned. Lily stood in the hallway, her drawing pad clutched tightly to her chest. She saw them, her aunt, her uncle, the people she'd run from. Her hands trembled. Her legs started to back away on their own. "We found you," the aunt said, forcing a smile. "Let's go home now." But Lily didn't move. Keanu stepped aside and looked at her gently. "It's your choice." Those words, they gave her power she hadn't felt in years. She looked at her aunt. "Why now?" The woman blinked. "What do you mean?" "Why now?" she repeated. "You didn't look for me. You said I was a burden. You locked the fridge at night. You told me Mom's death was my fault." The man's face twisted. "Don't talk back, girl." Keanu stepped forward, voice like steel. "Don't raise your voice here." A pause. A long silence. The woman sighed. "We're just trying to do the right thing now." "You had the chance," Lily whispered. "This is my home now." The man scoffed. "She's 10. She doesn't get to decide." Keanu reached into his jacket and pulled out a document. "She might not have to. I filed temporary guardianship last night, based on what she told me and what was found in public records. Your name's already flagged for multiple complaints." The woman's face fell. I protect who I care about," he said. "You can leave now." They stood there furious, but they knew they couldn't win. Not here, not now. They turned and walked away. As the door closed, Lily's knees buckled. Keanu caught her before she hit the floor. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe." She buried her face into his chest and sobbed. It wasn't the quiet, afraid kind of cry. It was the release of everything. Months of pain, fear, and feeling like no one would ever fight for her. But someone had. Someone did, that night, after dinner. She handed him a new drawing. It was of him, not the actor, not the star, but the man who gave a hungry girl hope. He framed it and hung it above the fireplace. The day the world found out, the days that followed were quiet, simple, and full of small beginnings. Lily started to smile more. She laughed when Archie chased his tail, helped set the table at dinner, and once even asked if she could try baking cookies, though they came out shaped more like clouds than circles. Keanu didn't care. He said they were the best cookies he'd ever had. He had bought her a small backpack, filled it with books and art supplies, and started teaching her, from home while waiting for the legal process to clear. Every night before bed, she would read aloud to Archie while Keanu listened from the hallway. It was peace, and it felt almost too perfect to last. Then came the interview. Keanu had agreed to do a quiet sit-down with a trusted journalist, someone who had never twisted his words. It was meant to be a simple update on his upcoming projects, nothing more. But near the end of the interview, the reporter asked, "I heard a rumor that you recently took in a little girl. Is there truth to that?" Keanu looked up. He didn't plan to talk about it. He never liked using people's pain for attention. But then he thought of Lily, her courage, her honesty, her drawings hanging on the fridge. He nodded. "Yes, her name is Lily, and she changed my life." The reporter leaned in. "Can you share what happened?" Keanu paused, then quietly began. He told the story of the diner, the way she asked to pay later, the hunger in her eyes, the cold in her voice when she said she had nowhere else to go. He told the world how a child, broken, lost, and small, had reminded him what it meant to love without condition. "I didn't rescue her," he said. "We rescued each other." The clip went viral overnight. People around the world were stunned. The image of Keanu Reeves, someone they admired, for his films, his silence, his mystery, now seen sitting at a booth with a tiny girl in an oversized hoodie. Her head bowed, his hand on hers. The internet exploded. He's not just a hero in movies. This is the kind of man we should be talking about. Someone please protect this little girl with everything we have. News stations covered it. Articles were written. Some people tried to dig deeper, but Keanu kept things quiet. He didn't let anyone near the house. He shielded Lily like a father, like a guardian. One day, a letter arrived. It was handwritten. No return address. Inside was a photo of a little boy standing next to a mailbox. He was smiling, holding a card. The card read, "Thank you for showing the world that kindness still lives." Inside the envelope was another note. "Our son was going to give up on people. Then he saw your story. Now he wants to help others." Keanu showed the note to Lily. She read it twice, then looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "We helped someone?" He nodded. "You did." She stood on her toes and hugged him tight. As the days passed, more letters came. Some from children, some from parents, some from people who had almost lost faith. But not everyone was happy. The aunt and uncle, seeing the attention, tried to make noise. They went on a local radio show, pretending to care. They painted Lily as a troubled child and accused Keanu of stealing her. But they didn't know the world had already chosen who to believe. When asked for comment, Keanu simply said, "Truth doesn't need to shout. It stands still while lies run in circles." His calm silence spoke louder than their screams. Meanwhile, Lily continued to grow stronger. She painted more. She cooked with Keanu. She learned to play guitar. And one day, during a quiet afternoon, she looked up at him and asked, "Can I call you something?" "Anything," he said. She hesitated, then whispered, "Can I call you Dad?" Keanu froze. His throat tightened. He reached out, pulled her into his arms, and held her like she was made of glass. "I'd be honored," he whispered. That night, he added a new photo to the fireplace shelf, one of Lily and him, smiling in the backyard, Archie in the background wearing a bandana. It wasn't fame. It wasn't a movie. It was real. And it was his greatest role yet. Full circle. 1 year later. The wind outside still danced through the trees, but the chill of last winter had softened. Spring had brought warmth and color to the quiet town, and with it came a new kind of peace, the kind that blooms slowly after a storm, quiet but strong. In the heart of the city, a small diner stood just the same as it had before. Same faded menu above the counter, same creaky door with the old bell. But something had changed inside. Mandy, the waitress, had seen the news months ago. She'd watched the clips, read the articles, and felt her heart twist when she saw the girl in the hoodie on her screen. The girl she had once turned away. The girl Keanu Reeves had embraced without hesitation. She had never forgiven herself for that moment. Not because the world saw it, but because she did. So she waited. And then, one sunny morning, the bell above the door rang again. Mandy looked up from her notebook and froze. It was her. Lily, but not the same. This Lily stood taller, brighter. Her hair was clean and brushed into a neat ponytail, her eyes confident, and her hands held a small box. Behind her walked Keanu, dressed simply, smiling softly. One hand rested gently on Lily's back like a quiet shield. Mandy stood speechless. Lily smiled. Hi. Mandy wiped her hands on her apron and rushed over, guilt written across her face. I'm so sorry. I was wrong that day. I didn't see you. I didn't listen. You did what you thought was right, Lily said kindly. But I came back because something happened here that changed my life. She walked to the same booth, the one where she had sat that cold day with nothing in her pocket but fear. This is where he found me, she said, setting the small box on the table. This is where everything began. Keanu watched quietly from the side. Mandy came closer. What's in the box? Hope, Lily said. Inside were tiny cards, colorful, hand-painted by Lily herself. Each one had a short message. You matter. Don't give up. You're stronger than today. You are not invisible. The bottom of the box was a note. Take one, or take two. And if someone walks in hungry, give them a card and a meal. No questions. No judgment. Mandy's eyes filled with tears. Lily, this is beautiful. Lily looked up at her. It's what I needed that day. Maybe someone else will too. She turned to Keanu. Can I tell her? He nodded. Lily smiled, brightly. We're starting a project. It's called Pay Later, Love Now. We're placing these boxes in diners, schools, bus stops, everywhere someone might need a second chance. Mandy wiped her eyes. You're changing the world. Sweetheart, Lily looked over at Keanu. He taught me how. They sat down for breakfast, this time as guests. Mandy insisted it was on the house. Keanu asked for pancakes. Lily ordered the same meal she had the first time. Pancakes, eggs, and hot chocolate, with whipped cream. As they ate, more people began to notice them. A few whispered. One young girl walked over, holding her mother's hand. Are you Lily? She asked shyly. Lily nodded. The little girl held out a drawing. I saw your story, and I made this. It's you, with angel wings. Lily took the drawing, her hands trembling. Thank you, it's beautiful. The mother wiped her eyes. My daughter was afraid to speak at school, but after watching you, she stood up and told her class about her stutter. You helped her find her voice. Keanu watched as Lily bent down and hugged the little girl. It was a full circle moment, a quiet, powerful passing of strength. After breakfast, they stepped outside. Lily turned to Keanu. Can we come back here every year? Every year, he promised. They walked down the street hand in hand. Not just actor and fan, not rescuer and rescued, but father and daughter. A new family born not from blood but from belief. And in homes around the world, people watched her story and believed again, in kindness, in second chances, and in the healing power of one small act. Back inside the diner, Mandy placed the box on the counter right next to the cash register. She looked at the first customer who walked in. A young man, cold, unsure, and clearly struggling. She smiled. First time here? She asked gently. He nodded. She handed him a menu and a card. It said, Someone believes in you. And somewhere not too far away, Lily Reeves was smiling.